Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Corey, better known as the Seaman, and I want to welcome you to another edition of the Seaman's Cinema Sit Down and back in for a little Spooktober action. That's right. If you haven't been following along here at the Cinema Sit Down, I've been watching a different scary, spooky, or Halloween type movie and then reviewing it, throwing it up. We're trying to do it day by day, but I have naturally had some struggles. We missed the whole first week and then caught up. And then we were on a good run and then stumbled the other day, and now we're still kind of playing catch up. But it plays into our hand because, as you can see with the list in front of you, this wonderful mix of different kind of horror and Halloween movies kind of transitioning out of a classic run of slasher and horror characters that dominated the 70s, 80s, early 90s, and carried franchises for a long time, to now kind of transition over to some of this more highbrow intellectual horror suspense that really focuses more on creators and stories. And since we stumbled, it kind of works to our favor and gives us two Jordan Peele movies to talk about today. And we're starting with his first one, his debut film from 2017. So why don't you pull up a chair, take a seat. We're getting ready to dive in to Get Out. And I tell you, like in life, there are always moments that are kind of like game-changing moments. And certainly in film, there are plenty of those. I mean, heck, like we were saying, we just came off of an entire week of movies that kind of changed the game of horror and set it up for decades to kind of have a look on how you could approach it. And when Jordan Peele came onto the scene, I remember, man, like first hearing Jordan Peele, I was like, wait, like Key and Peele, Jordan Peele's gonna direct and write a horror movie? Like, is it going to be like a dark comedy, like a Shaun of the Dead kind of thing? No, this ends up being a guy who's a legitimate horror sci-fi fan. And when I finally got to hear him speak and read like interviews and stuff with him talking about Get Out, I was like, oh, nah, man, this guy's a student of like the horror genre, and it's something that really suits him as far as the way he thinks creatively. And when that first trailer dropped, I was like, oh my, we have something special on our hands. And sure enough, Jordan Peele delivered in a big, bad way that took him straight to an Oscar W for Best Original Screenplay. And the thing that was so amazing with Get Out was the way in which Peele is able to dive in and hit on all the elements of sci-fi and horror that he grew up watching. I mean, Get Out has a lot of Twilight Zone vibes to it, for instance. But meshing those concepts with horror, with real life horror, specifically from the black perspective. And let's face facts, when it comes to the horror genre, we haven't really had a ton of black content, really, or black stories. Heck, a lot of the black actors that are in these movies typically are one of the first people taken out. I mean, it's obviously changed now, but this is a long time running joke that in a horror movie, if you have a black guy or girl in it, chances are they'll be the first one to go. And that diversity that's there for like a hot second is gone right away. So for Peele to mix a true black story with horror in the way that he does it, man, like in that kind of Twilight Zone-y, twisted suspense type way, you just get sheer brilliance with this movie. I mean, from the writing side, totally deserve it of the original screenplay. I mean, what Peele is doing thematically, talking about race more than anything else, is just done in such an interesting way that fits this type of movie so well. And if you don't know what Get Out is about, it is about an African-American kid, Chris Washington, played by Daniel Kaluuya, who's going up to his girlfriend Rose's parents' house. And Rose is played by Allison Williams. And Peele is kind of playing with the fears or worries, you know, of like that situation in and of itself, just meeting the parents and the type of anxiety that comes with that, but specifically being a black guy going to meet the white girl's family. You know, like one of the first things Kaluuya asks her at the beginning of the movie is like, do your parents know I'm black? Like, because he knows the things that come along with that, and specifically going to like an all-white suburb. Like, it's a worry that's legit, and you play into that with just a simple concept of like, boy and girl go to girl's parents' house for a weekend away to you know, meet the parents, and they happen to be there for a party. And then things just go really, really crazy sideways. And while he's not just playing with that concept, he's also playing with the idea of again a long stretch. Certainly when I was a kid, and even now, like people growing up with having a younger brother, like even kids that he has friends that are friends of his, have these like instances where like a lot of white people really like black culture and wanted to like be black or put on the persona of black, whether it was dress or the way you talked, and it was cool to be black for a minute. And the movie plays with that concept in like you have all of these old rich white people, and this is the crazy thing, and it's like they're deteriorating and they understand that like, hey, it's cool to be black. And the other thing too that is like a misconception or just an assumption that a lot of people have is that black people are just born better from an athletic standpoint and a physique and muscle standpoint. And the movie plays with all those things while you have the type of like old white male and old white people that kind of would be the ones more responsible into a lot of the persecution and systemic racism that exists in this country. And all they want to do at the end of their lives is turn themselves into black people, but not like be a white person in a black person's body. And Peele really approaches that in a crazy way where the person that they take over is there, but they're like all the way down in the sunken place, they call it. And like you can see, but you can't do anything. And that's like even crazier torture than slavery to a degree. And playing with all those thematical elements like that and just all the things that he has to say in that conversation is done so eloquently and so intelligently. It's a very, very smart movie, but mixed in with the suspense and the thrills that come with the filmmaking side of everything. Like what Peele does behind the camera just elevates those concepts and delivers them in a way where you're literally watching a serious like horror suspense movie. And it gets you to the edge of your seat. It freaks you out. It takes those crazy twists and turns, and everything about it is just executed wonderfully. And from the filmmaking side, I love the way he shoots this thing. Peele's camera work so far through 2 films has been spectacular. Just the look and the vision and the way, the different angles and things that he'll approach. Like I said, like when he takes Kaluuya's Chris Washington to the sunken place that first time, it's like falling into an abyss of black, and then there's like a TV screen that's way, way, way up there that's showing you what's coming out of your eyes. And that's the thing that really makes this movie pop, is the acting. I know when Daniel Kaluuya got nominated for Best Actor, a lot of people just said, hey, the Oscars are trying to respond to all the people shouting that like it's an all-white affair all the time, so let's throw in it. Crazy that this would be the movie, of course, that would be in the middle of all of that. But just kind of like that's why Kaluuya ended up getting in there. Like I think they had to. I think something came out with James Franco, and it kind of made him like, okay, he's not going to get the nod. There's an open spot. We could throw a black guy in there, and I don't know if that's true. Maybe some of that played into it. I don't know. But when I watch this movie, especially like a debut movie for Daniel Kaluuya, he is spectacular, and he was so deserving of an Oscar nod as far as the nominations go. I mean, rewatching it like now, I'm like, what he does from just just the audience being able to feel what he's feeling physically in the movie, the apprehension, the hesitation for certain things, the way he'll talk to his best friend Rod when he breaks away and is like, dude, there is some crazy stuff going on here. And the way he's digesting all of these things that are coming in as him and Rod start to figure out what's actually happening. And the just physical acting that Kaluuya has, the looks on his faces, and the way that he can make you feel what he feels physically is spectacular. And it's really, really apparent, I think, with Kaluuya's physical acting performance. Then the scene with Catherine Keener, who plays Rose's mom, and she puts Chris under hypnosis and sends him to that sunken place we were talking about. The way he is able to freeze his body, specifically like the second and third time it happens, where he's like, no, it's coming. Oh, no. And he just goes and then doesn't move. His eyes don't blink, and they're wide. And the way he's just able to roll that one tear and then the multiple tears, like as everything's going on, he understands some of what's happening. like that physical acting presence is stunning visually and just captivates you. And then when you add in the delivery of everything else that goes on into the movie, like Kaluuya gives you a really, really great performance, a performance worthy of a nomination, in my opinion. And the other thing that works in this movie just as well as Kaluuya, but on like a more subtle kind of level, is Allison Williams' Rose Armitage. Rose is a character where it doesn't take long for us to figure out that she's in on everything. And Chris doesn't figure out till like almost the end of the movie when he finds a box with all these pictures of her and different black guys and one black woman who happens to be one of the staff that's like at the house. But when he sees all those, like we're definitely telling you she's completely in on all this. This isn't just her parents type of thing. And yet Allison Williams is still able to make you second guess that immediately following that moment where it's like revealed that for sure she's not good. Like she's on the stairs and Kaluuya's screaming for the keys to the car and Williams is frantic and panicking and searching, and then she finds them and like her face straightens up and she goes, I can't give these to you. And it's like, I literally remember sitting in the theater going, you son of a bitch. Like, I legitimately thought for a second that, maybe you were in it, but maybe like you were forced into it. Maybe you really do love Chris. Nah, it's all fake. And that's the type of performance that you needed from Rose. And Williams just delivers that so perfectly where like you believe anything that she's selling you. And that's the key to her whole character until it unravels at the end. And the way that even she plays the end of the movie and what happens to her, phenomenal stuff. And then when you look at the rest of this cast, I mean, everybody shows up in a big bad way for Peele. And we start with like Lakeith Stanfield and that opening scene that's just so normal. Like, guy walking down the street, car starts doing weird things. Nah, I ain't gonna play with that. We go in the other way. And then he gets kidnapped, and then we see him later on in the movie. And it feels like he's a totally different person. And it's so much of the credit of that is that normalcy at the beginning because we just get the vibe and we get the sense of who his character is. So when he shows up later, it's not just that the goatee is gone or that he's in different clothes. It feels like he's a different person. And the way that Peele approaches that in general with both Lakeith Stanfield's character and also Betty Gabrielle and Marcus Henderson's characters who are her kind of people who work at the house. Like, it feels like they're almost being held against their wills, which is true. To a degree, all of those people are trapped in the sunken place, but it's, white people acting like black people in front of Daniel Kaluuya. And the way that Stanfield does it is perfect. And like, again, his eyes too, man, that terrifying moment when like, Chris wants to just take a picture because he thinks he knows him and wants to send it to Rod. And then the flash goes off and the flash, I love how it gets stuck in their eyes. And then they just kind of come out of it. And the first words out of his mouth are like, get out of here, man. You don't want to know. And then eventually we see what is actually going on when they send Chris to the sunken place. And the whole story about how, as this group of people die, they want to take over the bodies of young black people. Just kind of all unfolds. It's wonderful. And, Stanfield's performance is great. Lil Rel Howery, perfect comedic relief. Peele pulls things real tight tension-wise, and you need those cuts every once in a while. When we get to cut to him, he's a TSA agent. A lot of fun. His delivery is wonderful. His jokes all land, and he makes you laugh out loud when you kind of need to be able to, like, breathe for a minute before you get pulled right back in. So I love his performance, and the him and Kaluuya stuff is, like, best friends over the phone is wonderful. Then, like I said, you have Betty Gabrielle and Marcus Henderson who play the groundskeeper and maid of the house. And that, like I said, with Stanfield, it feels like they're black people being held against their will. It kind of has a slavery feel to it. But in reality, that's true, but that's not what's going on. The reason they're acting weird around, Kaluuya is because they're these two old white people. It's Rose's grandparents in their bodies. So they have to act like they're the house servants to a degree. And then when he catches them in moments when like they don't think he's looking or is around, you see like Georgina like looking at herself in like the reflection and how beautiful her new body is. And Walter is just weird. Like that whole running moment where he's like sprinting right at Kaluuya and then just goes like executed perfectly, works wonderfully, and elevates like all the horror and like weird suspense stuff and kind of Twilight Zone-y feels of the movie. And then if you go past them, you also have Dean and Missy Armitage, Rose's parents, played by Catherine Keener, and her dad, Dean, played by Bradley Whitford. And Keener crushes all the psychiatrist stuff. I mean, she has that even keel calmness to her, but like right underneath the surface, there's something off. And you feel that with her right from the get-go. She's that uncomfortable, calm person, like you get uneasy because she's so here. And then when she puts Chris under, man, the use of the teacup and the stirring and the sound of the spoon, while it's genius filmmaking stuff, that sound sticks in your brain and has such a tremendous effect, obviously, in the hypnosis stuff. But her execution of all those things, wonderful. And then Bradley Whitford is just like that over-the-top, I'm trying way too hard, I can't turn myself off, this is really awkward dad. And he plays that well. And it's even worse because he's like trying to act cool because like the boyfriend is black. And those things have comedic beats to him too, because it seems like he's trying so hard and he is so over the top at times. But when you understand what's really going on at the house, you're like, oh, that's actually terrifying. And just really, really great performances from everybody in this film, mixed with genius filmmaking and writing from Peele. Get Out's a slam dunk winner, man, and I love it. I forgot how freaking good this movie was when I rewatched it. I was like sitting here going, damn, dude, I forgot how good this movie is. So there you go, man. Those are all my thoughts on Get Out. Now I want to know what you're thinking. What'd you like about Get Out? Was it a game-changing moment for you in the world of horror film in general? Do you like this new highbrow version of horror that we get mixed in with everything else? Do you wish it was just more slasher-style horror or traditional-type horror stories? With this movie, what works and doesn't from the storytelling and the filmmaking perspective? What did you think about the acting? Who was your favorite? And like I said, what do you just think of Jordan Peele as a filmmaker? Everything about Get Out, good, bad, or indifferent, down below in the comment section. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up. And if you're new, you want to come hang out with the C-Man all Spooktober long, come join the rest of the C-Maniacs by hitting the subscribe button. Hit that little bell if you want those alerts. And until next time, for the C-Man's Cinema, sit down. I've been the C-Man. I'm signing off. Peace. Well, you guys are still here. You must be looking for some more content. Well, don't worry. C-Man's got you covered, man. You got videos like this guy and this guy. And if you haven't yet, and you want to come check out all the C-Man goodies, join the Cinema Sit-Down squad, man. Hit that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the little bell down below that, too, so you can get alerts every time I make new videos.